Okay, so I'm joined today by David Atherton. Nice to see you, David.
Thanks for the invite. Much appreciated.
No, it's not a problem at all. You're somebody that I follow on Twitter, X, as it's now called. I follow you intently. Actually, I listen to a lot what you say. Everything that you say is true and it's correct. To a point, as you well know. So I just wanted to go through a few things with you today. Go through a few topics, see how we get on, and work our way through and see where it leads.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, help yourself.
Okay, so immigration. It's a massive.
we're going straight to the top, are we?
Let's go straight in, David. Immigration. Okay, so immigration is an issue. I don't care what anybody says. Immigration is an issue. I think it's the root of all of our problems, whether certain people will admit it or not.
Sure.
We've got successive governance now, which are not tackling it, and more importantly, the Labour one that we've got at the minute, it's just not even part of their agenda, as they've proven in their reset. So Poland do it so well; they've got full control of their borders, and they've got not a lot of issues there. So, what are we doing wrong? What do we need to do to fix it? Is it a change of government? Is it a change of the two-party system? Is it a leave of the ECHR? In your opinion, how do we tackle it and how do we move forward?
Okay, fine. First of all, let me identify the problem if I can. And this is the most politically correct example I can find from history. Let me identify the problem. Back in the 1820s in Texas, this is really obscure history. Back in the 1820s, President Santa Anna, the Mexican president, Texas was a part of Mexico in the 1820s, invited in Americans to settle in Texas. It was very underdeveloped. It was very sparsely populated. And so he invited, funny enough, those Americans were actually mainly of British extraction. Most of them were historically British. But anyway, from the 1820s onwards, by the time we got around to the 1830s, early 1830s, they'd become a majority in the state. And the Americans wanted to import black slaves from the north to work at the cotton plantations in the east of the state. And that what basically triggered a civil war at that moment. I cut a long story short, I'm sure we've all seen John Wayne, with the Alamo and what have you. I think it's 1836. It's actually a true historical fact. It did happen at the start of the Mexican-Texas War. And basically the Texans won, and Texas became an independent country, actually. It didn't immediately become a part of America. 7 years later, I think it was, that they became a part of America. That is where mass immigration ultimately could lead to. It could just be simple civil unrest. But in America, civil war, you look at what's gone on in Ireland for the last 500 years, what's gone on in Israel for the last 75 years. It's mass immigration, right or wrong. I'm not saying any of the people moving anywhere else in the world is right or wrong. I'm just observing that often it leads to civil strife. Yeah. So to ask what is wrong with the country, it's probably best summed up by Robert Jedrick. Actually, he wrote an article. You try and not mention conspiracy theories and try to be as logical and as fact-based as you can, rather than speculating. But Robert Jedrick, an article in the Telegraph, probably summed it up very well. He said the reason that the establishment, the civil service, the academia, politicians are so pro-immigration, or played lip service to stopping it or reducing it, is because they want a different job. They want a good job, with an NGO or a world government body after they leave politics. They basically said they're appeasing the global elite. So the fact that the global elite have basically sanctioned it rather confirms that there is a conspiracy theory. And of course there is Sakir Starmer recently saying that mass immigration, these were literally his words, were by design. It's we've gone from conspiracy theory now, where the Great Replacement is now, the establishment is now admitting it's fact. As a matter of fact. So how do we fix it? Well, probably that's allied to the two-party system or three-party system that we have at the moment. The only way I can see this being fixed is if we have a reform majority government. I'm sorry, Nigel Farage, let's be honest, has trodden a few toes when he's sort of flinched away from re-immigration and deportation of immigrants. But I at least get the impression with reform, if they did get a reasonable majority or had or able to govern with maybe some of the right-wing conservatives, that they would stop mass legal immigration. Personally, I would have a at least a 3-year moratorium on all immigration, apart from essential stuff, maybe for the NHS and doctors and particularly high-level people. I don't know whether you know, to pay your way in this country, you have to earn £38,700 a year. So if you earn less, you're a net receiver of the infrastructure like GP appointments, National Health Service, schools, roads, and things like that. And if you earn more than that, you pay more taxes that you receive back from the state. So of course, all these people we're importing from India are on minimum wage jobs in pubs and supermarkets. Yesterday, where was it now? Where was it yesterday? I went shopping. It was in India. Oh, it was at Tesco's, and I was getting a bottle of wine late at night last night. I was just been out, and there was a young Indian lady, very pretty, and that was it. We're importing all these people from abroad when we don't need to and shouldn't do. That's basically what we're saying. Yeah, and when it comes to the channel crossings and the legal crossings, it's just so simple. What you have to, well, there's 2 or 3 things you can do. It's very, very simple. Okay, fine. You come into this country, and we'll give you, we'll process your claim, and after we process your claim, you're going to have to get yourself a job. You're getting no benefits. You're getting no housing. There should be a law in this country. The first thing the next government should do, the first law, that all social housing goes to British people. That's it. End of it.
Yeah.
If you're that economically good for the country, surely you can get yourself a job and pay for your own flat or apartment or place of your own. There should be a 10-year moratorium on getting any state benefits whatsoever, and there should be a surcharge, out of your taxes, out of your wages, to pay towards the National Health Service. To my money, you have to pay extra taxes, and the people who do come over from the Channel, once they arrive here, they should be taken into custody. This is the process. This is the process. The immigration officer's sitting down at a desk, and hello, Abdul, can I have your passport, please? Oh, don't have one. Okay, do you have any other documentation on you? Got a phone or something like that? No. But okay, that guy should be immediately put in handcuffs and put into secure accommodation to be deported back the next day. And if the French don't like it, give them a Royal Navy escort back into Dunkirk or Calais. That's how I would deal with it, because it was stopped within a week, 2 weeks if we were tough about it.
Do you think we're being let down by France? I mean, we seem to pay them an awful lot of money for doing very little to stop these boats leaving from their side of things as it is. I think we're being stitched up a little bit.
Yeah, if you'd asked me that question, a couple of weeks ago, I would have nodded in the right direction. I think at a high level, Macron. This is Emmanuel Macron giving Britain a punishment beating for leaving the EU. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I'd note. And the second thing is, I think the pennies dropped with the French, because there was a French guy murdered 5 people in near Dunkirk. Would have been last week, wouldn't it? So today's Tuesday. Yeah, weekend or whatever it was. No, he murdered 5 people, and and there is crime. The Calais residents hate them being there, and they realise the French have realised unless they stop it themselves, this is probably at sort of mayoral level at Calais. unless they stop the boats themselves, they're going to have a perpetual problem. It will last forever. So I'm told that if you dial 112 or 999 in France, by the way, just a very quick aside, if you dial the emergency code on the continent is 112, and obviously in America it's 911. If you dial those numbers in Britain, it actually goes through to the 999 number. But anyway, that's an aside.
Is that right? Okay.
Not a lot of people know that. No, if you dial 112 for the emergency code, the police will come immediately and try and puncture the boat. They'll turn up en masse and mob-handed to deal with the problem. So I think the French have realised it, but of course, the problem isn't at the Calais level. It's the Paris level with Macron.
Yeah, no, I think you could be right. Somebody sent you a message. I asked people to send a message, and one of the messages is how best to stop illegal immigration being used as an excuse for digital ID. Do you think that's a thing? That's from Michael Morrell,
Sure.
by the way.
Yeah, sure. Well, the point is, a lot of illegal immigrants who come to this country, once they get here, there's a thriving market in national insurance numbers, thriving, thing in, fake passports and fake UK residences. If we have digital ID, the criminals will find a way around it. And this is just another excuse for the big brother state and more Stasi oriented, papers please, sort of thing. No, it's just another means to control us, and we're moving towards the Chinese social credit score system, So you've been a naughty boy, you can't get the train up to Manchester, you can't fly off to Mallorca for a week's holiday or something like that. No, it's just a former Conservative minister said to me privately, I can't name him. He said that whenever you give the state power, that they will abuse it. You look, for example, like Tommy Robinson. Now his latest charge is they're trying to sit him up for his other terrorism act because he refused to give his PIN number away of his phone.
Yeah.
That's to my mind, that's just an excuse to try and bang him up for a little bit longer. But he genuinely has sensitive information on his phone, which the police might abuse. So Tommy Robinson, he's not planting bombs, or having secret, encrypted meetings about causing civil unrest. He does everything in the open. So the police are using the Terrorism Act on him, for nebulous reasons. This is just another state stitch up.
So that kind of leads on to where we are as a country at the minute. I spoke to Leilani a few days ago, actually, and I asked her if we are currently in a police state. I think we are.
I think we are, yeah.
100%. Obviously, what happened to me. I spoke to you about this off camera. My wife doesn't even know this, so I will share it. Is that I've had two visits from the police since I've been released. Just for commenting on Twitter, on X, and it's all designed just to put the shits up you to stop doing what you're doing. Are we in a police state? And are you worried about getting a knock at the door?
I've had one.
Have you?
Yeah, I've had one. Yeah. So I should have. I'll tell you the truth, I was a little bit embarrassed, so I didn't sort of publicise it at the time. But I got an email from the Metropolitan Police, come in and have a chat with us, young man, And it's about 7-8 months ago, and I said, look, I can't be bothered. I don't want to do it, sort of thing. Anyway, the guy threatened me with arrest, and I ignored it, and I ignored it again. And two cops turned up on my doorstep and gave me a letter. So I went in and basically. And by the way, guys, here is whatever you do, don't comment. Do a no comment interview. Don't say a word. They're looking for you to incriminate yourself. I forgot the guy's name. There was a guy who was banged up for commenting on that white children were raped by Pakistani heritage men, which is a matter of fact. But what he was asked during the interview was, was this designed to stir up hatred? And rather than saying no or no comment, he said yes. And that was what he was convicted for. So whatever you do, guys, no comment every interview you do with the police. It's up to them to prove your guilt. It's not up for you to prove your innocence, you know? So anyway, I know commented it, I would say 8 months ago. Touch wood. Not heard anything since. I think I hope, hopefully, that's gone away, kind of thing. But yeah, I maybe at the time I should have publicised it a bit more, because it was well before Alison Pearson. I think Alison Pearson was what 3 weeks ago, something like that. I was, as I say, 7-8 months ago. So I was a bit of a pathfinder on that. And by the way, I choose your words carefully, Dave. Some people who know of my account, I won't say anything more than that. They have been interviewed by the police for their ex-posts, and they say, "Do you follow David Atherton? Do you interact with David Atherton?" So and also another person as well was interviewed by a Sky News journalist, and they said, Do you know me? Do you interact with me? So yeah, the state to a certain extent is running scared. By the way, do you know why the police and the state is cracking down on social media? Do you know the reason why, Mark?
Go on.
Okay, right. The primary problem in this country, right, out of 97 terrorist murders since 2000. 94 have been committed by Muslims. There's been two British people and one Ukrainian, are the three that have also committed terrorist murders as well. And rather deal with the primary problem of Islamic fundamentalism, they deal with the reaction, the secondary problem, the way we react to it, and quite rightly too. And banging up all those people with those savage sentences will not reduce the temperature of the atmosphere in this country at the moment. So it is basically cowardice of the state while they're going out for us, rather than the primary problem in this country. I will never forget that video I saw of the Asian, presumably of Pakistani heritage, police officer chatting to a bunch of again Asian Muslim lads, and he said to them, I think it was at Stoke, and he said, "Take your machetes and take your other weapons and put them back in the mosque." So yeah, I'm sure if Britain First or Tommy Robinson had a basement full of machetes and baseball bats, the police would be round there in 2.3 nanoseconds, feeling his collar. So this is the conundrum we have in this country. This is the major problem. The police and the authorities won't confront the principal problems of this country.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. There's definitely a two-tier system. We're living in a time, David, where you can get locked up for a social media post.
Yep.
And Muslims that have attacked armed officers at an airport are still walking free. Sure. They're still not been brought to justice.
Sure.
How real is the two-tier justice system?
Yeah.
As things stand.
Oh, sorry. What was that about the two-tier justice system? Sorry.
I said, how real is the two-tier justice
100%,
system?
100%. If that had been two white guys in Southport, in fact, there was a case. A white guy in Southport broke a policeman's nose, and he was jailed for 4.5 years. I put out a tweet. I said, "Well, that's the bar for the Manchester airport thugs. 4.5 years." In fact, it's not a case. I don't have to surmise it. There is evidence that they're serving 4.5 years. Again, it's allied to what I said before. I think the CPS, I think the police and the authorities, the government, are too scared to prosecute them because it might lead to civil unrest.
I think you're quite. That's exactly what I think, David. I think that is the case. That we pander to them too much, and what's happening is they're becoming emboldened, and it's
getting worse and worse.
That's what's causing the problem. They're becoming emboldened, and it's just going to get worse and worse until somebody actually puts the finger on it and says, "Look, this is how we need to move forward."
Well, I think what would happen. Should we say we have, we have a reformed government at the next election to 2029, and Prime Minister Farage and Home Secretary Richard Tice, are urgently contacted by MI5, and understand you're going to have a bit of a crackdown on terrorists and fringe terrorists and things like that. We advise you not to. Why is that? This might lead to trouble and civil disorder. That is possibly what might happen. We might have to suck this up for years, if not decades. MI5 will deal with major terrorist incidents, about plant bombs or go on knife and gun rampages. They'll do that, but they won't deal with the low level stuff because like thuggery at Manchester Airport, because it could potentially incite civil unrest in this country. There have been riots. You look at the Hare Hills riots. Again, two-tier policing. You look at the way that the pro-Palestine demonstrations on Saturday of police. It's all soft caps and and high-vis jackets. Tommy Robinson, the TSGs out there in their vans with their shields and their helmets and armor. And Tommy Robinson rallies are infinitely more peaceful than the Palestinian ones. I back in a year ago around Armistice Day, Armistice 2023, I was chatting to a policeman just in a cenotaph, and I said, if I said I want to gas the Jews, would you arrest me? Yes, I would. And if I said from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, would you arrest me for that? He said, no, I wouldn't. And I said to him, you do know the two things mean the same, don't you? Silence, tumbleweed, that kind of thing, And no, it's exactly the two-tier injustice that the majority of people in this country are facing as we speak. And I understand, but I just could never see this changing. Like I can see the attitude to the poor social attitudes of this country. I just really can't see it changing. I think even if we did have a change of government, I think the establishment will say, wag their finger and please don't do that. There's going to be trouble if you do.
I think you're quite right. I think the mainstream media have a massive role to play in this as well. I see things on X that I'm never going to see on the mainstream media, and that's part of the problem, is because it's regular people who don't use these social platforms are not seeing the same things as I see and as you see.
Absolutely, yeah. So no, it's the only when the internet and X became widely used and when we could fact check mainstream media, it was only then suddenly all these fact check organisations, Reuters have got one, so I think Associated Press, obviously BBC, Verify, and they'll come up with these fact checking organisations. Sometimes they do a good job. And to be fair, there's a couple of things I've seen, which I thought were fair and reasonable. But a lot of the time on the highly charged political stuff, there's an obvious liberal left bias. A to what they're investigating, and B, their verdict. For example, that they might say, the headline might be, 93. There have been 97 terrorist murders in this country. 92 have been committed by Muslims, or whatever. And they'll do a fact check. False. It's 94. So what they do, it's straight case that it's untrue. Okay, I lost you there for a second. But
yeah, I think we went quiet for a minute. It's fine.
Let's put a shilling in the meter, shall we?
Yeah, I've done it. I asked a few of my followers to put some questions to you whilst I've got you on. One of them you commented on yesterday, and the question was, why are you such a staunch advocate for Israel? And you commented that you've got a really good answer to that. So I want to hear it.
Okay, fine. Right, during the 1990s, during the Balkans War, I supported the Kosovan Muslims against the Christian Serbians. And, in China, I support the Uyghur Muslims against the Chinese Communist Party. I think as a Brit, I have a good sense of right and wrong. I basically, I don't think, from what I can see of Palestine, of Palestinians, I don't think they're fit to run a bath. They should be in charge of a whelk store, as the cliche goes. When 72% of them supported the atrocities on the 7th of October, and this wasn't sort of a visceral day after. This was done 2 weeks after the atrocities of the 7th of October. And 72%.
People seem to forget that. People forget that quite quickly of how Palestinians cheered in the streets when they're wheeling through half-naked bodies of Israeli girls on the backs of trucks.
Sure.
And now down the line, that all seems to have been forgotten. But I'm on the same page as you with that.
Okay. And I don't really before the 7th of October, 100,000 Palestinians had work permits to work in Israel. They crossed the border every day, commuted every day. So and there's that Palestinian guy, son of the Hamas founder, Mobad. He said, when he was growing up, when it was peaceful, he could get in his car in Gaza and drive all the way up to Tel Aviv, when he was a child, and he could look at the animals in the zoo, and he was never stopped, he was never searched, he was never whatever. So, again, very briefly, Denmark allowed 321 Palestinians to settle in Denmark in 1992. By 2019, 64% had criminal convictions, and half of them since 1992 had never been off welfare. So at least half of them. So they also as well because the animosity, because Britain broadly supports Israel against Palestine, or Gaza, I should say, not Palestine, it doesn't exist. But that hatred will extend to us as well. That sort of visceral dislike. There's the phrase, Saturday after Saturday comes Sunday, which means basically after they've dealt with the Jews, thus Christians are next. But to get back to I'm just setting the scene here. Getting back to answering the question, I was 11, and it was a week before my 12th birthday. It was 5th of September, 1972. And I sort of rushed downstairs at 8 o'clock in the morning and switched the telly on because the Olympics in Munich were on. And there was David Coleman commentating. And rather, quite remarkable, one to read has opened his legs and shown his glory type commentary. It was silence as a terrorist act was happening in front of me. And 11 Israeli athletes and coaches were to be killed. Also, Youssef, the Israeli weightlifter, while he was alive, he was castrated and then shot in the head. These are barbarous people. There was Black September terrorists. I don't know how much detail you want, but the Black September terrorists are named after Black September from 1970. After the 1948 and 1967 wars, where the Palestinians got absolutely slaughtered, also Egypt and Syria and Lebanon forces also got spanked as well. A lot of them moved to Lebanon and also moved to Jordan as well. And in September 1970, the Palestinians attempted a coup d'etat against King Hussein of Jordan, which failed. And also on the 13th of December, I think it is, was it November? 13th, in 1975, a number of Christian Maronite worshippers were leaving a church after a christening, and what became Hezbollah opened fired on the Christians, killing 4. There was no provocation. No, they were just worshippers leaving a church, and it was just pure hate for the Palestinians, that killed them. It started a 15-year civil war from 1975 to 1990. And chatting to a Lebanese, he's actually a Muslim, Shia Muslim. Effectively, Hezbollah won the war in 1990, and the Christians are now a minority in their own country with not too much power, and the whole country is ruled by Hezbollah effectively. The thing. And moving on from there, I then moved on to 1974 ITV showed The World at War, episode 20, Genocide, and it documented over an hour the Holocaust, starting from Mein Kampf in 1924, right through to the Wannsee Conference in, I think it was January 1942. Of Jews in the concentration camps. I just give you an idea. Poland looked into their deaths at the end of the Second World War, and they estimate that 98% of all Polish Jews were murdered in the Second World War.
Wow.
Than before, and moving on from there. Can you is there no wonder after 6 that they want their own homeland, a place where they can escape to, and a place they can call their own, when they're surrounded by so much. By the way, it's not that they were didn't offer a settlement, but since 1947-48, the Israelis have offered to break up their land and share their land with the Palestinians on something like at least 10 separate occasions. The most recent, one of the more publicized one is 2000 at Camp David with Yasser Arafat and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, Clinton thought they were getting near to a deal, and Arafat then started saying no to everything. No. And Bill Clinton turned around and said to him in exasperation, you have deliberately set out to scupper these talks and not have a two-state solution. From what I can understand, the leaders of Hamas and the Palestinian leaders, all they want to do is to have continual war so they can butcher as many Israelis as they can. As I said at the start, Palestinians are not fit to run a bath, let alone a country.
No, not at all. I'm in full agreement with you. I've always supported Israel. I'm a Christian boy, so we know the importance of Israel. And like you say, Palestine, it doesn't even exist. So they're fighting with something that's never been there or doesn't even exist anyway.
Very, very briefly, you want to play, I was here first. The Jews, in Israel lived there 3,000 years ago. It's the oldest of the Abrahamic religions, and it was there for 3,000 years. It was basically the Muslims when Islam came to the fore in 632, I think it is. That is when they started being destroyed and ethnically cleansed from the Middle East.
Yeah, you're quite right. Okay, so another question that I got from one of my followers was a lady called Louisa. She said, now I know the answer to this, but I want to get your answer to it. Is why are sentences of people that were jailed as part of the Southport riots, online postings like that, not appealing their sentences? I think what she's getting at is because obviously certain information is circulating about things that people were saying and doing has turned out to be
who. Yeah, you know who.
Yeah, has turned out to be correct. So I think what she's getting at is that now that information has come to light, why are people not appealing their sentences?
That's an extremely good question. I believe Wayne O'Rourke is. I believe the Free Speech Union are appealing his sentence. I believe on that one. Again, it was disgusting the way that Starmer went about setting up 24-hour courts, and it was a conveyor belt. Like the generation game. Fondue set, cuddly toy. It was a conveyor belt to get these people banged up as quickly as they can, so they can stop any further unrest. I think the main reason is they don't have the finances to employ solicitors and barristers to make the case for them. Something like that would cost you £20,000-30,000 to launch an appeal, maybe more. I don't know. I'm no legal. So I think that's partly one of the reasons why. And excuse me. And as you rightly say, a certain gentleman's going to be appearing in court on the 20th, and maybe some fresh evidence may come to the fore on this one, which I seem to be privy to, and it could make some interesting reading for any potential appeal. So maybe they're biding their time, but generally speaking, I'm sorry, if you're working class in this country, I might even say white working class in this country, there is no justice. You have to be bloody you take me. You have to be bloody. I come from a working class background, and you have to be bloody minded. You have to be sort of very, that's what I'm looking for. Very determined to stand up. The easy thing to do is, okay, I'll behave, and let's put up some doggy videos on X, and isn't the weather nice for the time of year sort of type posts. We can all do that. It's the easy way out. I understand why many people do it. Particularly if you're sort of a bit younger and you've got a young family, you've got a mortgage and things like that. That I can understand. But the people that do, there are people like myself who are prepared to stand up for our rights and for other people. And in fact, my best stories on X are the ones that people send me. I worked as a security guard at a Asylum hotel. This is what happened. And I get loads of X posts from people who who work for the Department of Work and Pensions and Welfare Abuse. And there's two reader stories that have actually got 1 million views. One was a guy who was on holiday in Tunisia, and the Tunisian said, "You really don't want those nasty Islamists in your country," and be warned, kind of thing. A bit like the foreign minister for United Arab Emirates. He warned us, don't take these people into your country. And the other one was about TK Maxx cancelling their Christmas party for staff.
Parties, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to upset anybody else,
Yeah, I commented on that one myself. Donald Trump's coming in January. I think he's got a big role to play in world affairs, not least Israel, least Israel. Certainly Ukraine and Russia as well.
Sure.
How important is the fact that he's coming back? Because I think it's very important. I think I think Israel. I think Gaza's going to have hell to play when he comes back. He's point blank said, release the hostages before I come into power. Otherwise, all hell will break loose. So I think he'll keep to that as well. And also his role in Ukraine, Russia. Obviously, he's been quite outspoken of the money that America spends supplying Ukraine with arms, which I agree with. Just for a war that Putin has long said, stop moving towards my borders, and they still kept going. I've changed my tact on that a little bit. I was an avid supporter of Ukraine, but the more I've read and the more I've researched, the more I'm looking either way. So back to the original question: how important is Trump coming back into the American presidency going to be on world affairs.
Okay. I think the next 4 years will be a case of at home and abroad for America. It really case of strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. He's had 4 years. 4 years in power, 4 years of reflection, and know what he did wrong in his first 4 years. He's now appointed the people that he wants. And of course, during his 4 years, 2016 and 2020, he didn't start any new wars. And in fact, by the way, Trump was the person who was behind the Abraham Accords, whereby 4 Muslim countries now have normal relations with Israel. I think it's Bahrain, UAE, I think Sudan as well, and I can't name the other one. But anyway, this is it. If Iran can be neutralized, and there can be sort of some level of peace in the Middle East, and the Abraham Accords get signed by everyone else, there could be real, genuine, lasting peace, and the Palestinians will be alienated. But I think Trump means what he says about the hostages. I think he'll refuse to pay off Ukraine anymore, and I think there will be a rapid peace settlement, in that time. And I think again, going back to the Middle, I know I'll take your point of that, because every time you say, well, every time you defend, you make a comment, there's kind of pro-Russian, you become a Putin apologist and things like that. I'm sorry, it was complete madness, complete madness to offer Ukraine membership to the EU, to offer them membership of NATO. No, it's a bit like, you remember the troubles in Ireland in the 1970s and 80s. It's a bit like, if Ireland had turned around and said, before the Berlin Wall had started, Ireland had turned around and said, we're going to join the Warsaw Pact, that would immediately send alarm bells, that Ireland could be used as a nuclear base or a military base, for Russian and the Visegrad, weapons and troops and things like that. Probably that would have sparked an invasion as well, if because in I think it was 1967, Ireland left the British Commonwealth, and so they cut ties with Britain completely after that. But if they, it's obviously a theoretical question, it's a philosophical question. But I'm pretty sure if Ireland had thrown their lot in with communist Russia in the 1970s against the backdrop of the troubles in Northern Ireland, I'm sure Britain would have taken a particularly robust thing on that. 1916, the French were getting spanked at Verdun by the Kaiser, and the French begged us to open a new front up, on the Western Front, and that was due to start on July the 1st, July the 1st, 1916. And in April, April of 1916, there was an uprising in Dublin, it's obviously called the Easter Rising. And Britain really put it down very brutally. It really was a case of, putting people up against the wall and hanging people from cranes and things like that. So, sort of Putin's reaction to Ukraine's wanting to be part of NATO and EU is understandable. Now, I'm told as well, I've read that apparently Zelensky's running out of men at the moment, and he actually probably privately quite wants a peace settlement. And also, Russia have lost their influence in Syria as well. So I think probably for everyone's sake, there will be a face-saving peace thing, probably in the first 3-4 months of a new Trump presidency. By the way, I think it was in April 2022. Apparently, Zelensky and Putin had reached a sort of in principle peace agreement. It was scuppered by Biden and Boris Johnson. Disgusting, we would put all this death because this, that, and the other. Absolutely ridiculous. But I think the difference between Trump and most other American politicians, same with Britain to a certain extent. He comes from a business background. He doesn't come from a political background. He hasn't been sort of swallowed up by he has have been swallowed up by the system and by the swamp or the blob, or whatever you want to call it. He's a businessman. Look, you get things done or you don't have a business. You get things done or you don't make a profit, sort of type attitude. Get things done. Same with me. I despair at the incompetence and action of government in this country when it's looking at the answer staring you in the face. Just do that. It's like the Channel. Take them back to France. It will soon stop. But international law and you can't upset the French attitude. Get things done. Get things done. So I think also as well. I think looking ahead, I think it's probably his next target after Ukraine and Middle East will be China. China. China, to my mind, combined the worst of the Nazis and the worst of the Stalinists. It's a horrible, oppressive country. Where there's no freedom.
They're a whole different ball game as well, aren't they, China?
Yeah.
I'm on the same mindset. They are a problem, and I think that will come to light when they finally try and take the island, Taiwan. So I think that's when that'll all come to a head.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Chinese will do that under with Trump in power. I don't think they wouldn't dare.
Probably not.
They would just be the excuse he needs, and militarily. Despite the size of China, I believe militarily, America completely swamped, pardon the pun, China, and they would be completely destroyed, in a country-to-country attack. In fact, there wouldn't be much left of China if Trump unleashed his full weaponry on them. So I suppose looking ahead here, planning ahead as we do. What's going to happen after Trump? Will there be another swamp monster coming into power? Will the American president? The Democrats, as far as I'm concerned, are dead. I can't see them getting into power for another 15 years at least. They've made such a mess of things in America. They will never be forgiven for much of what they did. And particularly the political correctness. What have we? So, I'm really looking forward to the Trump presidency. Really, it's a case of get the popcorn out and refresh your glass, and I think also as well. Well, I think also as well. One of the other things as well. I think Trump will have a lasting effect on Europe as well, because he's going to cut spending, he's going to cut government departments. And he's trying to go for a balanced budget, and he's got Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, in charge of that. He's got the people who, this time he's got all the people he wants, to carry out his plans for him this time. I think both home and abroad, I think Trump will be hopefully remembered as a particularly great president.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to him coming in. David, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for speaking to me today.
Thanks for inviting me on.
From me to you, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm a big supporter of yours. I always take interest in what you're posting every
Sure.
single day. So just keep doing what you're doing. Don't be silenced. Just keep being you, because
no problem at all.
Because you're great, David. Thanks for speaking to me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. You've been very kind.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Speak soon, mate.
Cheers.